Goja Iku, Nata Juran, Dunban, Bidapai Guri, Yi Bidapai Barai, Yi Baraba Barai, Wanyabu Ganyala, Wanyabu Ganyi, Goiwan Barai, Gate Nuran, Marambu. Now I said, greetings, my name is Uncle Russ. Yes, I am very standy as a very proud, strong Biripi man. This is Biripi country, and it always was and it always will be Biripi country. This is our country. This is shark country. So let us go together, my friends, and everyone say, Marangbu. Marangbu. Thank you. Thank you. Maramu. Now, Aboriginal people, our people here, we never had a calendar on the wall that just said, it's January, February, March, April, May, like that, like we do today. And we look at them and know the date and time. We didn't go by that. We went by seasons. When you know the seasons today, what's our 4 seasons? Spring, autumn, winter. So forth, yeah. You know them, that's why we look at that seasons. But Aboriginal people looked at it even more. We studied the moon, we studied the stars, we studied the winds and things like that. And that told us when it was time, like if I was thinking in autumn, what is a seasonal in the bush, a nature thing or natural thing? I tell you, when you're coming out of summer and it's starting to go into autumn, what is something that nature shows? Yes?
The leaves fall off.
Good girl. You see the leaves, some trees will start dropping their leaves, and other trees will just, the leaves will change colour, won't it? So when we look at that, I go, oh, we're getting, summer's just ending. Another way of telling our sun, summer's coming to an end too, because did you know that every day now, that if you mark the spot or on a tree somewhere and just watch the shade, the sun each day, you will see in the distance that the sun, like at the moment, what happened in the winter time, the sun goes north, settles further north in the west. As it comes back in the summertime, as we're coming now into spring soon, you watch the sun will might set over there, and then the next time it just gradually a bit over there, and eventually in the fall of summer, it'll be maybe over here. So you can tell by just watching that. We can watch a star falling at night. Put your hands up, you watch the star falling at night. And if next time, look in the direction which way it falls. If it falls in the west or south or southeast or whatever direction, just check the wind where it comes from the next day. And I'll guarantee it'll give you that information. you'll know. When you wake up in the morning sometimes and you see a lot of thick fog about. You've seen that when it's real foggy, it looks like smoky, yeah? Well, check the wind again on that and it'll guarantee it'll come from the northeast when the tide changes. See, the moon also spoke to us, you know? New moon, quarter moon, you know, half moon, full moon, all that was all controlling the fish. The fish and the prawns and the crabs and all those things that live in round waters, they go by the changing of the moon and the stage of the moon. And it's all in a cycle, breeding cycle. When it's in the full moon and the next night you look at the moon, it'll come up a little bit later, but in between that time when that moon, before that moon arises, you get what we call darks, dark nights. You know, you walked out some nights and it's really dark and you can't see the moon, you can't see nothing. That's what I'm talking about, those dark times. Well, the fish and the prawns and everything like that, they move in that time, especially prawns and crabs. It is it sets their body cycle to breed and lay eggs. And our dad and I used to go to the beach at Crowdy, and he was a professional fisherman. And he would go down there, we would go down there just after on Anzac Day, or just after Anzac Day in April. And we'd call them the marchers, the fish march, and the first patch of fish, they were the marchers, they were the guided them, other fish had come. But anyway, these fish, what they do all year, okay, now, they go up in our rivers, right up around in the Wingham area and up around Tanoni and right up in our rivers where the weed grows. And these fish, they spawn and they travel along the ocean and they go up the next rivers. When fish in schools, you were all patch of school of fish, you would come down the river, out on the ocean where like at Foster, where the lake comes out there into the ocean and the river. And up in Taree, they come down there like Harrington and Olbar when our entrance is over. If you were all a patch of mullet, you'd be travelling down our rivers. You'd come to the ocean here, and as soon as you hit the ocean, you go north. You never go south, they go north. And they will travel along the beach. So these fish here, the ones that are up in our rivers right now, they're feeding on the weed up there, they're getting stronger, they're getting bigger, growing. And I've drawn two fish there. These are two mullet, okay? Now, if you look at one mullet, it's got this big, long egg type of sausage, you know, the real thick sausage you buy from the butcher. They're like big as them and round as them, and they're inside, two of them are inside. This is the female mullet. Now, this is the male mullet. The female is usually a bigger fish, and the mullet is about half the size of the female. And he also got like an egg, a sac in there. And what happens when the fish start travelling and schooling up, that the male and the female, they all swim together like that. But before all that happens, something happens in nature. There's a little I've drawn here, we call them the hairy grubs. Put your hand up if you've ever seen hairy grubs around that time of the year. And what they do, they'll leave the nest. This is like a nest. And I've drawn this tree here. It's like mainly around wattle trees and things like that, banksia trees. They love getting around them. And they'll build like a big spider's web will form down the base of this tree here. The year before, eggs will be laid there around that tree, and they form into little caterpillars, little tiny little grubs, and they get in this nest here. Form this web, spider webs around the tree. And they'll grow and grow till they get about that long. And when this happens around, like I said, April, May, because the winds, in the summertime we get a lot of winds from the northeast, well it starts to go around south as we get around that time of the year. And we start to get some southerlies, sou'westers, sou'westers and westerly winds around that time. Well, these grubs in there, as they grow, they get a little bit more lively, and you can see them in the webs just moving around inside that circle in there. And all of a sudden, this weather will just, you'll feel this, like see how it's cool outside now, and that wind's blowing from the southwest there now, and you're getting this cold breeze. That's one of the winds that triggers these guys to go, hello, it's time to get going, right? So you might start crawling, and then the next one will follow you and then start crawling. And they will follow one another, all right? And you can see how close they are. They're nearly just bumping in the touch of the other one. And I've seen these lines from here way to the end of the wall there. And I just love it because I read what's happening. I know what's happening because that tells me, as an Aboriginal man, as a hunter and gatherer, go that way, go east. Because leave the hills, there's no tucker left up here. All the tucker's going down there on the beach. So that's when our mob, the Biripi people, would go. And this happens not just here, Warramai and Dungari and all the people who live along the coast, they'll all head that time of the year to the beach and camp. And we'll set up our gunyahs and get our big fires going down there. And all the family would be, older men and the men would go down first and clear the place and put up their big gunyahs, tents, and make it all comfortable. And by the time the rest of the family would come, it'd be all made, ready to enjoy and go and gather the food. And because this, you imagine, if you were all a patch of fish coming down towards us, what do you think I'm going to be doing with my spear? As you're going past me, I'll be going spearing you and throwing you up on the bank and saying to my kids, take it up to the fire, get mum to cook it, you know, because there was big schools. This was like, you know, heaps, a lot of food, shellfish and all that sort of thing. So this is the hairy grub, the mullet story. Now, if you, like I said, you all start travelling. So when these start moving, that triggers something in this school of fish. Like you're all a school of mullet, then all of a sudden you'll get this urge to start travelling down the river together, one big school. And you go right down till you get down to the mouth of the river. And as soon as you feel that salt water, you get all more excited because that just triggers this breeding cycle, this instinct in them fish. And the female, that's got millions of eggs in those sacs there, just starts laying these eggs, starts coming out of her body. And this one there, the male, has got the white sperm that comes out of the male that fertilises the eggs. And that's how our little fish life starts all over again. That's how all we are created too, through life, like that same similar way. But this is nature's way, this is the fish's way, cycle. And all different other animals and birds have their own. I've got magpies up there now nesting, not far from our place. And that's going, wow, geez, it feels like spring now, doesn't it? Like yesterday was a beautiful warm day, had that springy feeling day. And my father has been a fisherman for well over nearly 60 years. He fished this rivers and oceans, and he taught me a lot of stuff. And you know, he said to me before he passed, he said, Russ, spring is like coming more closer. Like, you know, some people say, like always say, gee, spring's coming early. Well, our seasons, I believe our seasons are getting earlier. Our seasons are not like it was back, you know, it could have been about 5 or 6 weeks ago. Look further before it comes to now, but I'm really sensing now that we're starting to, like the animals, the birds are getting all excited now, they're nesting and so forth. Well, that's an indicator that their nature's telling them to start breeding and start having young and so forth, and because they're triggered by the nature and the signs of nature. Not by like how us, they go by the seasons, and that's why the season is so important. So to be a good hunter and gatherer, like my people were to live and survive for thousands of years on this land, we got that knowledge and understanding. You know, there's heaps of stuff I can tell you, but that's the story about the mullet, okay? The hairy grubs. And that's how that was told us when it was time for us to go down along the beaches and make our camps and wait till the schools of mullet come along the ocean and along our rocks where we can get them and gather lots of food and take it back to our fires. And you know the best way to cook a mullet is just get him and chuck him straight on the coals. Cook him on the open fire. Beautiful. And I just like to do that, and I rake it out of the coals and I break a little stick with like a little fork on it like that, just to make my little fork, and I just peel the skin back and I just and get into my sea mullet, because I love eating sea mullet cooked that way, straight on the coals. And we've, you know, my dad and we've caught lots of big schools of mullet at Crowdy Beach. And my dad's well known, a fisherman down there. We had a special tree down there. It's cut down now. Someone bought a house apparently down there at Crowdy, and because it obstructed their view of looking at the beach, they cut this tree down. Now this tree was a special tree. Every year our fishermen all around here would gather there. It was known as the Yum Yum tree, where we all had our meals, or it was the tree of knowledge, because all our stories would come around that tree, and we'd talk about stuff about mullet and about this and about that. And we were just so disgusted, so disappointed that someone had the audacity to go and chop that tree down because it interfered with their view from their house. Ah, it was so sad. But there is a painting. Someone painted that tree. It's in the gallery. Did he? Yes.
But it's part of the collection.
It's part of the collection of the council.
Tree of Knowledge, and it sits at Harrington Library.
Does it?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that tree where I virtually, from when I was a little fellow, even younger than you guys, my dad took me down there I left school and I became a professional fisherman and worked with my dad, and like I said, we caught our mullet. And that's how we live by these signs and things like that. All right, guys, thank you for listening.
Can everyone thank Uncle Rusty?
Okay, I'll teach you how to say thank you, Uncle Russ, in my language. Say Maramu. Go on. Russ. That means same thing. Thank you, Uncle Russ. Good on you.
We'll turn to each other and say Ma. Wakalda. Now you're going to go high five. Ma wakalda. Something else you can say is Marung Ngaragan. Marung Ngaragan. That's good morning.
We call our trees wati. Wati. So we have another two words too. So for yes, we say ni. Ni. And for no, it's gurin. Okay.
We are not
All right. Marunguang, give him a clap. All right.